Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak, with iLan Azoulai, only on LA Talk Radio.
הורדים ראיתי את שפתייך, גדודי שדה צבעו חיוך מוכר, רציתי ללטף את לחייך, פתאום הבנתי שנשקתי קר, בשביל החלומות שמעתי צעדייך, עלי הסתיו נושרים משמלתך ארוכה, בבוקר סתיו שוב התעוררתי בלעדייך, לעוד יום תפל של אהבה סדוקה, לעוד יום תפל של אהבה סדוקה. בכל ענן ציירתי את פנייך, ואת עינייך כחול של גחלים, אולי אותו ירח קר מביט עכשיו אלייך, כוכב נופל שמיים נעולים, בשביל החלומות שמעתי צעדייך, עלי הסתיו נושרים משמלתך ארוכה, בבוקר סתיו שוב התעוררתי בלעדייך, לעוד יום תפל של אהבה סדוקה, לעוד יום תפל של אהבה סדוקה. בשיח הורדים ראיתי את שפתייך, גדודי שדה צבעו חיוך מוכר, רציתי ללטף את לחייך, פתאום הבנתי שנשקתי קר, פתאום הבנתי שנשקתי קר, פתאום הבנתי שנשקתי קר.
Hello, welcome to Abracadabra, Create What You Speak. I'm iLan Azoulai. I'm your host, spiritual mentor, and a sound therapist for you who are ready to reclaim your power, find your gifts, and map them with no fear and from a place of love. והריני מקבל על עצמי את מצוות עשה של ואהבת לרעך כמוך. I hereby accept to myself the due commandment or the utterance of love your neighbor, your friend, your partner, your gardener, in the same way that you express love to yourself. And the focus is first on ourselves. How do we speak to ourselves? What do we talk? What do we say? What do we intend for ourselves? And when we are in a place of harmony, we can shine the light to the rest of the world. This program is a program of empowerment. And in this program, I bring people and guests that share their gifts to the world. They bring their understanding, their gifts, whether they're artists, spiritualists, IT people, anybody that is here to show their gifts, to show their light. And today I have a wonderful guest that our paths are quite, we have quite similarities there, like many times we do with people that we meet. Brent Hunter. Brent Hunter has 2 graduate degrees, 12 professional certificates in knowledge management, change management, project management, agile methodology. Brent is a master in certified in knowledge management. He is an IT person. He's author of 5 books. We're going to talk about a couple of his books today. He is a producer, a former psychotherapist, and a national certified counselor. And today, he's actually the manager of the cybersecurity department in Warner Media. And so he has a lot of things to share in his new book, The Power of Knowledge Management. It's a great book, a lot of tips, a lot of great tips, and a lot of great ways on how to handle the tips, and we'll talk about this. But I want to bring, without further ado, I want to bring in Brent, and let's see here. Okay, so if you can unmute yourself, Brent. There you are. There you are.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Azoulai?
Hi, Brent. How are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank God and thank you. And, there are so many things that I omitted from your introduction. So please tell me a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself, about what I missed and because you have so much information. So let's talk about and let's dive in. But before we dive in, I really want to follow on your practice, which is a great practice. So why don't you tell us about this practice?
Okay, thank you, iLan. So this practice that you just referred to, I call it the 10 seconds of silence practice. And I think the best way to explain it is to actually just do it. Mm-hmm. So what I'd like to do is to offer the opportunity of uniting by sharing 10 seconds of silence by reflecting on the importance of equality, inclusion, and fairness. And let the 10 seconds begin now. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So,
thank you.
Yeah, so this is very powerful, iLan. This is a practice that I use at work. And by the way, I just need to have a slight correction to the title that you mentioned. Thank you so much for that warm and beautiful introduction. I'm actually the senior director of the Cybersecurity Program Management Office.
Okay.
Very large, complex organization at Warner Media.
Like the title, very large and complex.
Yes,
lot of things going
it's a lot
in
of
there.
words, a mouthful. But the 10 seconds of silence is something I'm really excited about, iLan, because it's something I do for most of the meetings that I conduct at work that are larger than maybe 6 or 7 people. Mm-hmm. And so when I bring a large group of people together, that's how I start the meetings, by sharing 10 seconds of silence. It's very profound, and people have told me that it really makes a difference. It makes a difference in those 10 seconds while people are thinking about the importance of equality, inclusion, and fairness. And sometimes I also throw in, a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and concepts like that are universal concepts. And so this 10 seconds of silence, I find, is a doorway or kind of a window in the sense that it opens up the possibilities for other conversations. So maybe later in the day or after work, maybe if you're out in the garden or if you're working out or you're in the shower or doing whatever, you might actually contemplate what those 10 seconds were about at that point in time and start thinking about what's important to you and our
Yeah.
priorities and things like that. So
Yeah,
this
for
is a
sure.
very powerful practice.
It's
And we
very
can use this
powerful.
not only in,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Yeah, I was just going to mention that we can use this practice not only in work, at work, but we can also use it at home in our
Of
personal
course.
lives and our personal
Of course.
relationships and family relationships. So yeah.
Of course, yes. It's really people think about meditation. Now, I work with sound, and we do sound. I do sound therapy and use sound as a tool to penetrate through that shield that is so thick from all the day's activities and all the day thoughts and all that junk, right? But people think about meditation, and people think, oh, now I have to sit for half an hour, I have to sit for 45 minutes. And actually, 5 minutes or a minute is a mini meditation. 10 seconds is just an opportunity to stop rowing for a second, the boat, stop rowing just to say. And so this is a great practice. And especially because, you come from an IT world, you're an IT person. And this is where we also connect, because also I see it as my kind of not so distant, but distant world that we're certified, Apple certified, and all these management of systems and everything. So I know exactly where you're coming from, and security and all that, and infrastructures, and how everything has to be organized and accessible, And you're also in film, and I don't know if you've done, but also in documentary, the main issue is access and how you access, and this really ties how I see it to the book, to the knowledge management. So yeah, this is good. This is good. So tell me
Thank
a
you.
little bit more, but tell us a little bit more about yourself. Tell how did you start? You were born in Brooklyn, right?
I was born in Brooklyn and lived there for a very short period of time, maybe a year or so. And then we moved to Long Island, and then we moved to upstate New York. I grew up in upstate New York, and then I went to undergraduate school in upper upstate New York at Clarkson University, about a half an hour away from Canada, from the Canadian border. After I finished school there, I moved down to Philadelphia, where I worked at GE Aerospace,
Wow.
And that was when I went through the General Electric, the fast track GE Information Systems Management program. So it was a fabulous, amazing experience. And that was when I started to develop my interest in psychology. So I started the graduate program at Villanova University in counseling psychology.
So sorry to cut you off, but you have so many
Sure.
interesting things here. So I'm going to like.
Please, yes,
So
yes.
did you always were you always into technology? Were you always like, you said, oh, I'm going to be technology. I like the way things are. I mean, was that a thing for you since you were young?
Yes, technology, gadgets,
Yeah.
electronic kits, that my parents used to purchase for, Christmas or Hanukkah or birthday gifts or whatever. Like building the little ham radios and
Yeah. Oh, I remember those.
technology and computers were always very, very interesting to me.
I remember those gliders. There used to be a radio for the gliders, for the airplanes. Yeah, radio airplanes.
The remote control.
Yeah. Remember them? Wow.
Yeah, I have an interest in that too. The remote control devices, they're pretty fun. Yeah, technology in general is just something that is fascinating to me. It comes easy, and I've always enjoyed it. So
and then you went. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I started with computers when I was in high school.
I see. And then you went into psychology. Now here's the thing. Usually, and when I say usually, I remember from where I come from, the time, the era, and the role that I read that you are in technology similar to what I can identify with, because this is what I've been doing when I was in technology. It's really standing in the intersection between them and them, right? And being able to understand the language of all who are communicating to me at that time and relate it to the other, almost like a router. And so I understand your thing for psychology. But how did that really happen? I mean, usually, when somebody is in the technology and old technology, they want just the gadgets and, and they're in here, how did you stumble, or did you, upon technology, upon psychology?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ilan, because I was always interested in technology and gadgets and things like that. And my undergraduate degree was math and computer science. When I started working at GE, I was working, in technology.
Yeah.
And it was through this management program that I was just referring to, the information systems management program. You basically work every 6 months, you work in a different area, and then you change your job and you have a totally different job, totally new manager. Well, one of my assignments was working in employee relations.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all about people. And so I decided to take some classes because it was interesting and it was directly related to the work I was doing at GE. So the first class was an organizational psychology class, and it was fascinating. I loved it.
Wow.
And I always really have a very deep desire to understand people at a deeper level. So these classes were amazing, and I just kept taking more and more of the graduate level classes until one day they said, "Hey, you have to enroll here in the graduate program if you want to take any more of these classes." And I happily did that, and got my graduate degree in psychology.
You have two of those,
from there,
right?
Well, the first graduate degree is actually the information systems management
Gotcha.
program. It's generally considered to be a master's degree in information systems.
Yeah.
So the psychology degree is a master's degree in counseling psychology. And so part of what I had to do was to be a psychotherapist. And so while I was working at GE, one of the things that I did at night and on the weekends was I was a psychotherapist. And so it was fascinating to me. I really liked it. And I liked it so much that I decided that I wanted to change my career. So I sold my house in Philadelphia, and I moved to Chicago and attended the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. It was a doctoral program. I attended the first year, and that's a whole other story. It's a long story, but I decided that the field of psychology actually wasn't what I wanted to do.
Because there were no gadgets in it?
Super well. Yeah, no gadgets. It just, like I said, it's actually a whole other.
It's a whole thing. There's no gadgets.
It's a whole other conversation that I would love to chat with you about sometime.
Yeah, no, I know. I hear you.
Have time, but
I hear you about technology because I come to technology from music, and then found the technology and the digital audio when they started, but from music. But anyway, let's go ahead. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So I decided at that point when I was in Chicago, and I decided, okay, this is not what I want to do. It was psychology. Then what am I going to do? And I thought, well, I'm going to go back into the business world, into the world of technology, and then I'm going to fulfill my desire to help make the world a better place somehow on a volunteer basis as opposed to full-time basis. And it turned out that was a really good move for me because that's what put me, squarely back into the world of business and technology. And that includes, building software systems, building and also hardware systems, digital equipment for computers that you plug into the computers to interface with the outside world. So I was able to, go back into the world of technology and then do other things to help make the world a better place.
So basically, so what you're doing really sounds to me like a sweet spot where you are combining first of all, you have the love to technology, which now you're in Warner Media. I mean, more technology than that, and media and entertainment, and you are a filmmaker and a producer and stuff like that. So that's Uh, that's a whammy, so to speak. And then you have working with people. And really, so you're working with different departments, really. And I can totally relate to this because this is so, I can see as I'm speaking with you and you're describing this to me, I can see it in front of me. I can see the way that I would talk to certain people in certain departments, because that's a certain language. And then there is the other language. There is the skit, a Saturday Night Live, when they call the IT person and he's trying to explain to the CEO, and then it doesn't move. It's longer to explain to you than to do it, so I'll do it. That's the stereotypical IT. But I really
Yes.
can see that sitting and explaining the different, speaking differently, speaking in layman, in simple terms, what the person needs. They don't have
Yes.
to know how you get it, how you do it. They just need to know that they're going to get it.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yeah, I love the
yeah.
way you just mentioned all that, Ilan. And you mentioned something earlier about talking to this group of people and talking to that
Yeah.
group of people. And I think this is another one of these commonalities in our background, because that's exactly the sort of thing that I view myself as. In fact, I've said for many years that I'm a bridge. I'm a bridge
Yeah.
between the technology people who
Mhm.
speak all of the technology, the language of technology, and the business people who, for the most part, they don't know all of the technical details, but they don't need to. They
That's
understand
right.
things from the business perspective. They understand what they want to achieve from a
That
business
is
perspective. And
that's right.
so being able to speak different languages and bring those two groups of people together,
That's
like a bridge.
fascinating. That's fascinating because I'm sitting here and I'm meeting you, and as I was going through your material, I was like, and then I was going through the other interview, and then I got these books, and then I started looking, and I was like, he's doing exactly, this is exactly, I know exactly what he's talking about. I know exactly where he is. We meet people. Here's the thing. And this is what I talk about all the time, because this is really, it's like the law of attraction. And it's not like it is the law of attraction, but it is really what we think and what we invite in our intentions. Because underneath all this, there is intentions. It's like, we will talk about a little bit about the pyramid, but underneath the other side of the pyramid, that we'll get to the other side that you're talking about, but underneath that 4 levels of pyramid that we'll talk about, underneath there are words, thoughts, and intentions. So there are these driving forces that are there. And when we meet somebody, when we meet people, it's many times reflecting where we are, because we meet people because we are reflections, we're projections and reflections. So I'm sitting and I'm watching you and I'm talking with you, and you're sharing all this, and I could just see that all sitting exactly. And this is fascinating. This is why I love to do what I'm doing,
Mm.
because of these kind of synchronicities. And this is where I call this, when two people or more that come together, and in synchronicities, this is our points of entrance to the stories. I call it the kissing points of our synchronicities. This is really what it is. It's like two circles, and we come and we meet and we share, and from that there is a spark, so poof, and then it comes more. And this is really what it is about. So first of all, I want to reiterate, I'm happy that you're here. I'm glad to have this conversation with you, and
Thank you.
this is
Likewise.
great. You know, let's talk about the book, because the knowledge management, this is really about, and how it ties, I'll tell you, with Kabbalah and shamanism this year. Okay. The knowledge management. So here's the thing. There is a theme every year that we're going through. And the theme of this year, really, and really what I see is happening, is not as much as what we know, or how we know it. It is, yes, it is the access that we get to it, but it is the integration. It is the integration of all that we know. And our mind, our monkey mind, really many times tell us that we don't know what we really know, but it tells us what we don't know. So we think that we know what we don't know. And then we start making things up. And so it is really an integration of all of us together. And this is how I see this. I see this knowledge management, not about the knowledge, but about the integration. And management is integration, because in order to integrate, to create a mesh, you have to manage that, or to understand, because really it flows. It flows. It flows. So this is what I really like. It is about integration. So maybe you can tell us about this book and about the knowledge management. And there are some, I know that there are some tools that you are sharing here. So we'll not go through everything, so people can actually get the book. Uh, uh, but yes, speak to that a little bit. Speak to that, to this knowledge management
Sure,
that you're going through,
sure,
that you're
sure.
doing.
So I think probably the best way to describe it a little bit is that I came upon knowledge management, the whole field of knowledge management, after spending many years in technology and in project and program management. And as I started to get more and more experience in project and program management, I started to become exposed to additional things like change management, for example. And there's a lot of, and organizational change management, and a lot of other bodies of knowledge.
Yes.
And it wasn't until I came across knowledge management where I recognized that what knowledge management was all about, to your point, is about integrating. It's about how do we holistically integrate multiple bodies of knowledge, whatever the bodies of knowledge are. The ones that I typically focus on in my job day to day, like I said, is the project, program, and portfolio management, change management, knowledge management. But it's the knowledge management that brings it all together and that integrates everything together.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so passionate about knowledge management. It is, as you mentioned, it's one of my books, and
Yes.
one of my other books is called The Rainbow Bridge, which is
all
about.
Oh, that's the
Yes,
mini.
there you go.
That's the mini one.
That's the mini collector's
There is another
edition,
one,
yeah.
right? It's great. It's great. It
There is.
combines many tools from different philosophies and religions and just it's like a pocket. It's really a pocket book. It's really just to pick it up and just look at it. Yeah.
The Rainbow Bridge illuminates the common ground in the world's religions, and so it's all about universal wisdom. And I initially published the book in 2001, but never, ever in all the years that I've been working with and living the values and the principles that are contained within the Rainbow Bridge, never did I actually think to myself, I found my calling. I never thought that until I came across knowledge management. When I came across knowledge management, I thought, now this is my calling, because it's all about integrating. It's all about bringing everything together. So knowledge management, I view everything now through the lens of knowledge management. And again, it's about integrating many potential different bodies of knowledge into something that makes holistic sense.
So this is great. So how do you okay, before I go to how do you resolve conflicts within integrating certain things that have conflicts just because of themselves being the way that they are and occupying the space that they do, there are some, and that's the management. But what I saw here in the book, and I tell you, it was talking about the 7 key pillars of knowledge management, right? But what I noticed is that it's mostly dealing, and maybe that's because your work, it's mostly dealing with teams and group of people. But how does one go about, okay, I want to read it for myself? Well, what team? The people, the friends, the members? How can somebody take it and integrate it and mold it to fit their own? Maybe somebody's lonely, he doesn't have anybody, he's reading the book, he found the book, whatever. How does somebody is taking that and making use personally out of this without the dependency, at least at this moment, on a team or a group or a company?
Yeah, that's a fabulous question, iLan. So there's different elements of knowledge management, and one of the things that I talk about, in addition to the 7 key pillars, is what I call the 7 key lenses of knowledge management. And the 7 key lenses refer to, like, imagine if you had a magnifying lens or a pair of glasses, right? Like, I'm going to apply KM in the business world, and so that's the business lens, right? But I can also apply KM in my personal life, and we can apply KM in our personal lives. So that is called personal knowledge management. So if you want to focus on elements of knowledge management that don't have anything to do with other people or teams or organizations or anything like that, it's personal knowledge management. And I'm actually giving a workshop. I've been giving a workshop since the beginning of October, a free workshop that introduces people to the subject of knowledge management, and specifically personal knowledge management. Because personal knowledge management is a way of integrating the knowledge that we have about ourselves and about attaining self-knowledge and increasing the knowledge of ourselves. And in the process of doing that, we can achieve a sense of inner calmness and inner peace and greater capabilities on the job, whatever it is that we do.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
This is great. This is great.
Yeah. So that's why I call that personal knowledge management or personal KM.
Okay, this is great. When we started the 10-second silence before, when I was preparing actually, and I saw that the first step that you have in the pillar, reduce knowledge discovery time. So, which means you're not really stopping. You're just reducing the discovery time of knowledge. But here's the thing. If I come from a place, if somebody comes from a place where, like we're talking about, you mentioned it, up to a certain time, people knew that Earth is flat. They knew that. This was a thing, right? This was a thing. So let's bring it down personally. If I come with a baggage, so to speak, and my trunk is loaded with all I come from with my 40, 30, 50 years. I'm kind of trying to confuse you here, so you don't really know how old I am, right? But, but
you're in your 20s, I know.
Yeah, for sure. You get an extra man. So first of all, and this is what I do with sound. But first of all, there is to do a stop. A stop in 10 seconds is great, but it's really never enough, because all the topics that you mentioned to think about in the 10 seconds, it's just more than the 10 seconds themselves, each one of them. So it is really about stopping and taking away clutter and revealing things and doing cleansing and energetic cleansing, or any kind of cleansing that will start the process of decluttering, so we can fill up the information, we can fill up more information. So we may reduce the time of discovery. I'm still in a pedaling mode. I'm still pedaling to move forward. But how do I would think that the first thing would be to stop. Let's declutter first, or let's unlearn. Or are you saying, first of all, let's learn something so we can unlearn the old thing?
So
a bunch of things here.
The 7 key pillars, pardon?
I said a bunch of things here.
Yeah, there were a lot of great questions there. The 7 key pillars are, the way I would describe it is, it gives, the 7 key pillars give us a tool for applying knowledge management, for actually doing knowledge management in an organization. And so the order of the pillars is not necessarily very important. But one of the pillars is to reduce knowledge discovery time. So what I mean there is anything that we can do to reduce the time that people spend searching for information and knowledge, right? Then whether it's in their personal lives or whether it's in the workplace, everybody can benefit from that. To the extent, if it takes me 5 hours to look some stuff up on the internet or anywhere, that's 5 hours, right? But what if I could do all that research in 20 minutes, because everything was actually brought together in a place that made it easy for me to find the information, right? So that's what that pillar refers to, is the activities that you can take, that you can undertake to reduce knowledge discovery time.
It's let's bringing it onto more of a spiritual, because this program really, and the way that I look at things, everything is through a spiritual lens. You're talking about lenses, right? And I believe, and I see that everything physical has a spiritual reasoning and cause. Everything starts from spiritual. It's like the car and the driver. The car is our body, the driver is our soul. So without the soul, the car won't drive. Now you can put it on idle, but that goes into a whole different realms of Kabbalistic, what happens to the particles of the soul. And so if we look at the tree of life, which are 10 levels of our existence, and it goes into 10 utterances of how the world was created. But the first one is Keter, and then we have knowledge and wisdom. Okay, those are the next. And then under understanding is the feminine that combines the knowledge and wisdom and creates the understanding. And you have this pyramid in the book, the Dikwi, the DIKW, right? That is a pyramid that it starts the data, right? And you will talk about this better, the data and the information, the knowledge, and the wisdom. So it's interesting how they trickle down or trickle up. The way that you wrote it in the book, they're kind of trickling up, right?
Yes, yes. So the general idea is that you're referring to here, iLan, is what they call the DIKW pyramid, also known sometimes as the knowledge pyramid or the wisdom pyramid. And it consists of 4 layers. And as you said, it sort of starts at the base of the pyramid. So at the very, very base of the pyramid is data. And data is basically facts and figures is data. And the layer above data in this pyramid is information. And information, the connection to data is that when you put data into context, then it becomes information.
So it's the context. That's what I was going to ask you
it's
to.
The context.
Yeah. So it's the context that makes it the information.
And,
so basically, the meaning that we put to something becomes informative. So we create some kind of an attachment to something or some kind of a bonding to some information if we're bringing it on a personal level, right?
Exactly. So once you put the data into context, then it becomes information. And I'll give you an example. Let's say I said 8 to you. Well, what does 8 mean? You could say, well, 8 means that I just ate lunch or breakfast or dinner or something. You could think maybe that's what I meant when I said 8. Or you could say, well, you're talking about a number, the number 8, which is 1 larger than 7. But we don't really know. If I say 8, what does it mean? It doesn't really mean anything. But the moment that we put it into context, for example, if we say 8 apples, now suddenly the universe has gone from some gigantic number of possibilities about what that 8 could mean. Now 8 apples. And now if you have an experience, if you've ever had the experience of making an apple pie, then you might remember in your head, 8 apples, it takes 8 apples to make an apple pie. So there's data at the bottom of the pyramid. Data in context becomes information. The next layer above information is knowledge. And knowledge is defined as being understanding that's gained through experience. Understanding. So the understanding, when you understand something, it's a mental activity, right? It's something that you get it. You get something. 2 plus 2 is 4. Oh, I understand. 2 plus 2 is 4 is the same thing as 5 minus 1. I understand. That's a mental activity. Is what knowledge is. It's an understanding. And so data, information, knowledge, and at the top of the pyramid is wisdom. And wisdom is knowing something, knowing concepts, knowing when to do things, when not to do things, when to say certain things, when not to say certain things. So knowing is a very all-encompassing kind of activity. So the difference then between knowledge and wisdom is that knowledge is a mental activity. As I said, it's a rational mental thing that happens in your mind where you understand something logically. And wisdom is when you know something. And you don't necessarily need to understand something in order to know it.
And that explains and that explains channeling and understanding of things and seeing things that are a noetic sense, as it's called.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the knowing, exactly. So very often what will happen is when you gain understanding, then you also gain, or you can gain, knowing after that. But the important distinction then is that you've got data. Data put in context is information, and then above information is knowledge, which is understanding gained through experience, and then wisdom is at the top of the pyramid, which is knowing. And the connection there, the knowing part, this is basically wisdom. So universal wisdom is what I talk about in one of my other books, The Rainbow Bridge. That is all about universal wisdom that's contained within the world's major wisdom traditions.
Of course, and some of them are some of them are coming to us through books, and some of them are coming to us through downloads, through channeling, and so this is a wealth of information, and so really it's an integration of all these knowledges, all these data, and how to make, it's part of it's interesting. We're talking about the same things, but from different worlds, from different streams. Let's put it this way. That I think would be the more accurate way, because it's really it's like the process of meaning making. It's like, how do we make meaning? What is meaningful to us, right? So, and that's why many times we take things personally. Some people will take things personally, and when we say don't take things personally, it means that don't make the attachment, the correlation between your own personal experience to what is happening here, because then it creates all kind of movies and all kind of things that are inaccurate on the reality level. And so it's similar to that. I mean, or they're similar in this connection, in the way to relate to information, It's similar. It's all together. It's all the same thing, and everybody is a part. It's all singularity and all together, And this is the junction of standing the how do you say, the junction between all these worlds. Yeah. This is beautiful. This is wonderful. So
sure.
So you have a workshop coming up, and so when is your next workshop going to be?
The next workshop is going to be Saturday, the 21st.
So it's next Saturday.
At 12
it's a coming Saturday.
Pacific time. This coming Saturday. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put the link here if you want. We'll put the link here for people to go to your website, and you will have the information on your website.
I will. Yes.
Okay.
It describes a little bit about the workshop and what people will learn in the workshop.
Wonderful.
There is no cost. It's normally a roughly $300 workshop fee is being waived until further notice.
Well, this is generous. So everybody who's watching it, you're watching it because you are here, and the reason you are here is because you're not over there. So you are here, and so if you're here, there is a reason for that. So take advantage of that. This is here for you, and as a gift. So, and thank you. And I mean, we are already we're already at the top of the hour almost, and so.
Wow.
Yeah, it is goes when it's fascinating. It's really fun. It's really going. It's just fascinating. It is what it is, and the background behind you is great. I love the colors. Look at the colors.
Oh, thank you. And by the way, speaking of background, iLan, there's something that I haven't shared about my background personally.
Yes.
My mother was born and raised in Turkey, and so she was 100% Muslim. My father was Jewish, and they raised me and my two sisters as Methodist Christians. And as if that wasn't confusing enough to a child, my father was also very interested in Zen Buddhism and in meditation, specifically transcendental meditation.
Wow.
And so I have all of that as part of my background.
So you have everything.
It's a lot of the key traditions, and then I supplemented that, learning about all the other traditions, literally over decades, in my life. But it's that background. It's basically being exposed to that, and then also, my father brought me and my two sisters to learn how to do transcendental meditation. I was 12 when he brought us to learn how to do this form of meditation. And so I've been meditating ever since I was 12, and it turned out it was an amazing gift that my father gave to us. So that's just a little bit more
Yes,
background
because
about
we really
myself.
didn't talk. We really didn't talk about this wonderful book. We really didn't. So I'm glad that you brought this up. This is really a wonderful addition, or should I say, maybe we
Thank you.
should start with that actually. This to have. So yeah, thank you
Sure.
for sharing that, and thank you for coming and bringing this knowledge and this how to and this information. So this is really wonderful. And
And thank
so
you as well, iLan.
you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for who you are here, everybody who is here. This is really for you. So let's be light. We have enough darkness in the world. We are just before the holiday of Hanukkah. And in Hanukkah, the festivities of light, it is where this little small candle, the small candle that will evaporate darkness. It is in the evaporation of this of darkness, really. It is not, oh, just move to the corner. And at the core of, there is a song that I don't know in Israel we used to sing, but there is a song really that talks about that. First of all, that people will unite, that people come together as unit, and when we unite, this is our power. And our power, it is not a power like an egoic power, but it is a power. It's like light has the intensity of light. Power has the intensity of power, and just the intensity and the place of where it's coming from will by itself create a strength that will evaporate darkness. And we have a lot of darkness in this world, and so we need to do everything we can do to bring light, and you are part of it, and everybody's a part of it. So thank you for being here. Thank you again, Brent Hunter, um,
Thank you, iLan. It was a
knowledge
pleasure.
management, and have a wonderful week. Thank you very much. I'm iLan Azoulai. Bye-bye.